So, some people have a really hard time firing someone, and that's normal. And I'll give you the 3 reasons why people have a really hard time firing someone. And you really need to understand this before you can move to the next step, which is actually firing the person. It'll make it a lot easier. And once you decide to do that, I'm going to give you 3 steps to fire someone in a professional, respectful manner so that everybody wins. Hi, I'm Michael Ceely. I'm a high performance coach for executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes. And I like to make these videos to help you through some of these barriers. So being a leader is not easy. You have to fire people from time to time. So unless you understand really why it's so hard to fire someone, it's hard to move to the next stage of actually firing that person. And you might fumble that step and you might feel really stressed out and anxious. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want it to go smoothly as possible. So let's understand why it's hard to fire someone. Okay, number one reason is very simple. You're human. You have feelings, and it doesn't feel good to fire someone. They don't generally feel good about it. It's not a pleasant situation. Sometimes it is, but typically it's not. So that's just really step one, is acknowledging that's the first reason that you're human and you're going to have emotions around it. The second thing I like to point out is that some of us, actually a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself too, have people-pleasing tendencies. This is something I've dealt with for a while. I think I've gotten a lot better about it, but a lot of us struggle with it. And what it means is that you like to make people happy, essentially. You get sort of a hit or a high from having people just kind of like you in general. And that's pretty normal. There's nothing really wrong with that, but it can get in the way. People pleasing can be a problem. And especially if somebody is dragging your team down, they're really not a good fit, and you know you need to fire them, but you just the pain of just kind of rejection from that person is really painful for you. And so you keep putting it off. You keep kicking the can down the road, and it's dragging your team down. And I want to reframe this reason as not just people pleasing, but selfish. Okay. So it's a nice reframe for it. It kind of relieves the anxiety and puts it in a different kind of more tough love way, is just as a leader, you're being selfish. Do you really are your personal feelings of being validated by somebody, is that really that important? And your team is suffering and the bottom line is suffering. So don't be selfish. Okay. The third reason why it's hard for a lot of people to fire someone is it's similar to people pleasing and similar to being human and caring, but I call it infantilizing. Now, this is a sort of a psychological term. What it means really is treating someone like an infant. So again, this comes from a place of caring. You have very good intentions. So I'm not trying to put you down here, but I want to use some of these strong words to help you reframe the firing process and help you reframe why it's so hard for you to fire someone. Okay, so infantilize comes from infant. You're literally treating an adult like an infant. You're thinking that somehow if they get fired, they can't handle it, that they'll never find a job again, that maybe they'll end up destitute on the street, they'll be depressed or something like that. And I want to say, look, if this person's working at your organization, they have hopefully some skills and hopefully they're a full-fledged adult and they can really handle being fired. So don't treat them like an infant. And I want a little bit more tough love here. And I'll say this. You're being disrespectful to that man or woman who needs to be fired. If you treat them like a child or an infant, that's really disrespectful. You want to treat them like an adult. If they're not a good fit for your organization and you're sort of coddling in them and protecting them and worrying about their feelings, they are responsible for their own feelings. The nature of the relationship is they're trading their labor in the marketplace for money, and you're paying them money. That's the basis of the relationship. So I hope that kind of helps reframe things and give you like a little bit of tough love, that it's not about you, that this person that you're firing can handle it. They're an adult, and this is really the agreement of this labor contract with the company. Okay, now that we've reframed the whole process of firing someone, let's talk about actually doing it. I want to give you 3 steps to do it and do it right. Number 1 is prepare. And I would actually say rehearse the actual firing, the meeting, the one-on-one meeting or whatever, however it's going to go down. I want you to rehearse it at home, in front of the mirror, or however you want to do it, and literally write out like a bullet-pointed script and practice it. And I don't want you to get over nervous about it and go in and memorize your lines or anything like that. But there's a power in actually out loud going through the process. But as you're doing it, I want you to think about it as a positive, adult, respectful experience, a termination of a contract, which is very normal and natural in the business world. It happens all the time. And with that sort of attitude, practice at home firing this person in a respectful way. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, before you do the actual firing, you want to cover your ass. We call it the CYA. You'd be surprised. Someone who could be very civil sometimes can get very mean and vindictive if they're fired, and it's not your fault. It just means maybe this person has some issues around it. So even if you have a very trusted employee who's been there for a while, and actually more so if there's someone who's been there for a long time, you really want to cover your ass and you want to work with HR or however you want to do it, speak to a lawyer and just really just cover everything so that you don't get sued or anything like that. You really want to come into it very, very prepared. And that's going to lower your own anxiety and just really line everything up properly. So cover your ass on that for sure. And then the third step in the process is again, going into that final meeting and being very professional and understanding that what you're doing is you're terminating the work contract relationship. Okay. You're not being personal about it. You're the old saying, it's not personal, it's business. You really want to come into it like that. And I would also say flip the script too. Like pretend that this maybe beforehand, you can practice this, which is pretend that you're getting fired and you actually know that it's not a good fit and you're underperforming. Would you be, that surprised or that angry that you're getting fired? Hopefully not. But if that helps you in that final process of the sit down, is that you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually being respectful. It's not a good fit. And it's simply, that's it, right? So being professional about that. Okay. So I hope that helps. Again, the reasons why is very hard to fire someone. Understand those and really kind of wrap your head around it before you do the process. And then again, the process, you want to do it step by step. Preparation, cover CYA, as they say, is going to be really helpful for you. And then just being professional in that final meeting. So again, really hard to do, but it is possible. And it's actually for the best. This person's going to end up working at a place, hopefully, it's up to them. It's not up to you, but hopefully they'll be working at a place that's a better fit. They're going to be happier. In a year from now, everything's actually going to be in a better place. And you really wish you would rip that Band-Aid off sooner. Okay. So, yeah, it's really the best thing for everybody if a person's not working out. You can do it, follow these steps. Hopefully that helps. And thanks for watching.